In our search for symbols and ways to recognize and adore Him, perhaps no setting is more graphic or speaks more eloquently to us than that of darkness and light. Good evening. My name's Bo Zordrager, and I play Rick in the program. This character is more than just a role to me. It is me. I'm a soldier who, like many others, deployed to Iraq. And while there, amongst other terrible events, I, like Rick, lost a very close friend of mine, Corporal Gary Brent Coleman, on November 21st, 2003, in combat operations. I too lost my way that day. I became angry, scared, and lost. I turned away from the strong Catholic upbringing my parents worked so hard to give me. I just no longer saw a light in my life. I pushed away my loved ones, even getting a divorce. I turned to this live my life for me mentality. I worked hard, and I partied hard. I made very little time in my life for God. The time I did make, it was me questioning His whereabouts, His power, and His intentions. I wondered why my life was riddled with such bad events, loss of my friends, and failures. I wondered why such a great God would allow anyone to go through all this. And that dark time in my life continued much longer than Rick's, nearing 10 years of me wondering if God was really even there for me. I went through many ups and downs. In the downs, I'd pray and I'd ask for help. But in the ups, I'd forget all about it. Well, then in 2008, I met a woman who helped change my life and who I married later that year, Ruth. She too was in the military, but because of that, we'd be forced to spend almost 2 years apart. And during that time, she became a member of the church here at Red Hill. She began to testify to me regularly. But that distance weighed hard on our relationship. And after one of our many over-the-phone arguments, she told me I needed to find a church, that I needed to get a personal relationship with God, that I needed His advice, not hers. And moments after she said that to me, I saw this internet advertising for a church in the town I was in Alabama. So the next morning, I woke up and I went. It was like the pastor there was speaking directly to me. And I broke into tears, and I returned to God, accepting Jesus as my Lord and Savior. But since then, I still struggled. I still fell. My marriage struggled, and it nearly ended. And I backslid several times. But something was different this time. This time I never lost total sight of His light. This time I knew He was there. I just didn't know how to trust Him with my life. And after watching last year's Christmas production here, my wife and I decided we were going to take part in this year's. And when I read this script, I knew that was God working on me. And as I prepared for this testimony, I asked for God's guidance. And what He showed me amazed me. He showed me that through all the good and the bad in my life, His hand was there, always reaching out for mine. But it was I who turned my back. It was I who let go of His grip to walk alone in darkness. Folks, there's many people out there still walking in that darkness. Some of them might be your loved ones. It might even be you. So let's all imagine for a moment that we're all in darkness. Darkness that blots out the smiles of our loved ones. Darkness that symbolizes the evils of the days in which we live. Darkness that reminds us that we must have locks and keys and policemen and fences because men still go out to rob and to kill. Darkness that enslaves our children with drugs and habits that will eventually destroy their lives. Darkness which spawns all the evils and wickedness that men so readily embrace. Darkness that reminds us that we live in a world that desperately needs the coming of His light, Jesus. Will you receive His light? Will you be His light?